my sermon tomorrow, and I gotta finish my work assignment. I'm not gonna be able to work on Friday.
What do an opera singer and a football coach have in common? They both use the same method of breathing to project their voice. Now, you may not be an opera singer or really any type of a singer, but we've all had a cold or been congested and needed a refresher course on how to optimize our breathing. As a vocal music education and performance major with an emphasis in opera, I feel I'm very well equipped to give you a little refresher course on how to breathe properly for singing. Whether you need to project your voice over a 20-piece orchestra or a 200-piece orchestra without a microphone, or you need to get your players' attention over a roaring crowd, or maybe you're just having trouble breathing today, knowing the fundamentals of breathing for singing will help you maximize your breathing system. We will examine the respiratory system, and then I will show you a couple of exercises to use to maximize your next breath. The first thing we want to look at is the respiratory system, and looking at posture specifically. Richard Miller, in his book, The Structure of Singing, says it's imperative to have a noble posture. This means thinking tall, thinking your chest high, and making sure that your back is not swayed. So a lot of times people, when they think about having a noble posture, they do this to give themselves a feeling of standing tall. But instead what you need to do is think a string coming up the top of your head and rolling your hips under. That actually gives you a much more aligned posture. Knowing the muscle groups and everything that goes into singing is only one part of it. And we're going to look at groups. Sorry. Here you can see the respiratory system as it is in the body. We're going to be examining the diaphragmatic intercostal breathing. Too many people take small, shallow, high breaths thinking that they're expanding their lungs, but actually a good deep breath starts in the diaphragm. So when you're doing a breath and you're going, and you feel your shoulders moving and the upper part of your body moving, you're not actually giving yourself a full breath. Instead, Richard Miller says that we should think about our gut releasing and have the diaphragm actually contract. The diaphragm is attached to the bottom of your lungs and it creates a vacuum. So that when you release your gut and the diaphragm contracts, the air just goes rushing in. Now, if you've ever seen an athlete when they're done with a big play, or a runner when they're done with a run, kind of bend over and try to get a deep breath, what they're doing is they're trying to engage the intercostal muscles. The intercostal muscles go all the way from the front, connected to the sternum, to the vertebrae in the back. And when they contract, they pull the rib cage open and allow you to get a full deep breath. James C. McKinney, in his book, The Diagnosis and Correction of Vocal Flaws, has a really great exercise that I want to teach us that will help us use our diaphragmatic and intercostal breathing. So if we can all try this together, we're going to, first of all, take a very low deep breath. So letting out all the air that's in your lungs now. Taking a deep breath, expanding from your diaphragm. You should feel a little bit of a twinge in your back, not necessarily anything painful, but a little bit of a stretch. So we breathe low and feel a little bit of a stretch, and we're just going to pulse some hisses. So when you do that, you keep your rib cage elevated, and you actually get a much better breath out of it all. The goal is to keep the rib cage elevated all the way throughout. And proper breathing is essential for good singing, but it's also beneficial for everyday life. Remember to carry a noble posture and have diaphragmatic intercostal breathing. Maybe we'll see you someday on stage at the Metropolitan Opera. You guys want to come introduce yourselves, David?